Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're letting folks join, but welcome to the second session of our second annual Call Tracking Metrics Launchpad Summit. I hope you enjoyed our first session with our keynote speakers. It was great to hear about 2021 and what's in store for 2022 for our call tracking metrics and for our customers, which is a great segue into this session. So in this session, we're going to talk about telecom regulations and what you need to know about A2P and STIR/SHAKEN. Definitely a hot topic in the industry today for you guys and as well for us. So it's going to be a good one. Before we get started, there's just a couple housekeeping items we want to cover. First of all, this session, along with all of our sessions at the Launchpad Summit, are going to be recorded. At the end of the summit, we'll be sending you an email with links to the recordings. Also, if you attended our keynote session, you'll notice that that recording is already up on the site, so you can reference that right away. And also, there will be a Q&A. So if you look in your Zoom tab at the bottom, there'll be a place for you to put those questions and answers. As I mentioned, this is a hot topic, so we'll get to your questions at the end of the session. And finally, make sure you keep the conversation going on social media. We have a hashtag CTM Summit 21 at the bottom of each and every slide. So make sure you share your experience here. And also make sure you connect with us on Twitter at CallTrack. We look forward to hearing from you guys. And as a reminder, for the summit this year, we have separate tickets for each day of the summit. So today is one, you've made it this far, welcome. So make sure you register for days 2 and 3 on tomorrow and Friday. We have great sessions planned for you guys. At 11 tomorrow, we have our live recording of our Smart Route podcast. So you don't want to miss that. You also will want to make sure that you subscribe to Smart Route podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, so you can listen to some of our previous episodes. We have about 9 episodes up so far, so definitely make sure you check that out. We'll also have a hidden gems session at noon tomorrow. It's going to be a great opportunity for 2 of our CTM experts to share all of the tips and tricks you could ever want to know about call tracking metrics. So make sure you tune in for that. And then finally, at 2 p.m. tomorrow, we have a great follow-up session to this one, actually, that dives into how one of our customers has used text messaging to boost revenue, engagement, and satisfaction. So you don't want to miss that. And of course, a bunch of other sessions that'll be super valuable for you and your business. And on day 3, we also have a special offer that is our workshop day. And if you've not already heard, you'll be entered into a raffle to win a professional services package valued at $600 when you attend on that day. So make sure you join us so you don't miss out on that opportunity. And I believe our technical assistants just shared a link with you guys to register if you haven't already done so. So now to dive into today's session, what you can expect to understand is the basics of STIR/SHAKEN and A2P and the difference between the two, where these initiatives came from and why they were put into place, and the impact that they'll have on your business and what actions you can take today to ensure that your texts and calls are delivered. But before we get started, we wanted to introduce ourselves. I am Rebecca Massler. I'm the Senior Manager of Growth Marketing here at Call Tracking Metrics, and I will be your moderator today. I'll have the pleasure of interviewing 2 awesome speakers to help us understand these new telecom regulations. First, we have Call Tracking Metrics' own sales engineer celebrity, Jason Smith. Jason brings more than 20 years of telecom experience to the Call Tracking Metrics team, and in his current role, partners with both the sales and engineering teams here at CTM to match customers with a customized solution to meet their business needs. Welcome, Jason.
Hi, Rebecca. Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody.
And the other star of our show today is Nicole Morrison. Nicole brings a passion for problem solving and collaboration to Call Tracking Metrics. As a product manager, she works closely with internal teams as well as external partners to keep a pulse on the needs of the customers. Prior to joining Call Tracking Metrics, Nicole worked on project teams that created award-winning state websites. Welcome, Nicole.
Thanks, Rebecca. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right. so let's get started. As I mentioned, this will be interview style. So Jason and Nicole, I know Stir Shaken in particular pertains to calls and A2P in particular pertains to text messages. But can you tell us a little bit more about each of those initiatives?
Yeah, I can get it started. Thanks, Rebecca. So Stir Shaken, it stands for Secure Telephony Identity Revisited and Signature-Based Handling of Asserted Information Using Tokens. And while that's a mouthful, basically it's really just a way to verify that you as a business are who you are and that the phone numbers that you're calling from are phone numbers that your business owns. The more certain the carrier can be that you own the number that you're calling from, the more deliverability you'll have when making calls from tools like CTM.
I will speak to the A2P or A2P 10DLC, as you'll sometimes see it referred to. This is a system in the United States that allows businesses to send application to person type messaging via the standard 10-digit long codes or just your regular 10-digit phone numbers that we're accustomed to. In the past, there was very little policing going on, and there are a lot of software solutions like CTM that could sell you numbers and let you blast text messages at will to mobile recipients all over the place with whatever you wanted. Now the mobile carriers in the US are considering all traffic from a software solution like Call Tracking Metrics to be A2P traffic as opposed to P2P traffic. P2P messaging is messaging that's coming from another wireless vendor, aka my iPhone to your phone, your iPhone. You can still use a software solution like CTM to send these messages, but through these A2P 10DLC changes, the carriers will have more confidence about your business and the types of messaging that you're going to send to their subscribers. So they're more likely to put your messages through to those subscribers that you want to send your messages to.
Okay, great. And so Nicole, where did these initiatives come from? Who asked for them? Why did they ask for them?
Yeah, so Stir Shaken, it's a federally mandated measure. So right now the FCC is requiring that all telecom vendors with a specific feature set to comply with these regulations. Whereas the A2P 10DLC is something that's being implemented by the mobile carriers themselves, not necessarily government regulated, but both of these measures are really being implemented to help reduce spam and spoofing of phone numbers. So it's a good thing all around.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. And Jason, I think the last critical piece to understand for this is the timeline. I believe Stir Shaken's already in effect, but what is the timeline for A2P?
So this has been constantly evolving and changing, and just recently CTM has made it available so all CTM accounts are being offered an A2P brand registration that covers up to 3,000 messages a day for up to 5 different tracking numbers in your CTM account. And these are for mixed use campaigns. And mixed use is a category that the telecom vendors offer that supports multiple types of marketing and alert type messages that might be coming from your account. This initial registration that we're providing for anybody that registers is going to meet the needs of most of our clients. For very heavy SMS users that go outside of these guidelines or boundaries, we're going to be offering additional registration options very soon.
Okay, so long story short, for either of these initiatives, customers who are impacted should start taking action today, which brings me to my next question, Jason. Who are the businesses that are going to be impacted by these?
So I think at the end of the day, everybody's going to feel some impact on this, some positive, some negative. I think the companies that are going to be most impacted in the immediate are those companies that have been cold prospecting from lists of numbers via text or phone call that they buy, especially robocalling, where the initial greeting is an automated prompt to engage. So I think those types of companies are going to feel the biggest impact. The FCC, the telecoms, the consumers all want to mitigate these types of calls that none of these other parties want them. So I think we're going to see that the businesses that have relied on this type of marketing are going to have to adapt and find other creative ways of getting the word out about these products that they want to sell. That being said, there are a lot of real valuable and legitimate use cases for automated calling and texting from a solution like CTM. You can think about like opted-in messaging about offers and promotions that someone has specifically agreed to receive from your business, reminders about upcoming appointments, or instant response to a quote request or form submission on a website are all real valid, legitimate use cases where somebody that's using CTM should be able to communicate with their customers. And for these types of users, the STIR/SHAKEN and A2P registration capabilities that we're providing here will have a very positive impact. These users are going to have a much lower risk of having their calls and messages being flagged as spam on the receiving end, and the calls and text messages from a verified business entity are going to stand out from the calls and texts of someone using a different vendor that doesn't provide these same registration options. So as we think about that and in other areas that this may have an impact and or other customers that we have a lot of, it's also worth noting that this only applies to US local numbers so far. So the A2P anyways doesn't implicate or have an impact on toll-free use, and it doesn't impact the use of short codes either, those messages that you can send from 5 or 6-digit numbers instead of the standard 10-digit numbers, and CTM does offer short codes. Canada is already pretty far along in rolling out their own version of STIR/SHAKEN, although it's not final yet, but it's going to be here pretty soon. So those customers will soon start to feel an impact as well.
Got it. So kind of for lack of a better way of putting it, this is a process you need to go through. It's a necessary evil, but it'll be well worth it in the end to be able to continue to use these tools effectively and not have them be flagged as spam. So Nicole, I think this is a great chance to turn things over to you to tell us about what changes are happening within CTM to accommodate STIR/SHAKEN and A2P 10DLC.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm happy to announce that CTM's brand new Trust Center is now available to register for these products. In your account, if you go to Numbers Trust Center, you'll have the ability to fill out and submit an application right there within your account. Once that application is submitted and approved, CTM is going to automatically register your business to be covered under the guidelines for both STIR/SHAKEN and A2P. And the A2P part of this is going to be where you can submit up to 3,000 messages per day using up to 5 tracking numbers.
Awesome. So it's great. So as a customer, you have the ability to register for these right within the CTM platform. Both can be registered for in the same process. So all that being said, what are the most important steps you'd recommend for businesses to take today for both STIR/SHAKEN and A2P 10DLC?
Yeah, right now I recommend everyone register your business as soon as possible through the portal, through the Trust Center. This will help with, call deliverability, with, text messages being sent. So we definitely recommend, going in and submitting an application. There's no charges to submit it. But in order to do so, there's a few key pieces of information that you'll need to provide. The first is going to be the legal business name. So no DBAs or anything like that, exactly as you're registered with the federal government. Your tax ID or your EIN. So one thing to note is that for the ID section, if you're a US-based business, you'll definitely want to use your EIN. If you're not US-based, you'll want to register using your DUNS number. Another piece of information that'll be required is going to be the physical address. Again, the physical address that the federal government has on file. And then lastly, you'll need your website URL. When they're going through the process of validating businesses, they're looking at your website, making sure that all your information lines up. And then, so the best place to get all of this information is really going to be on your W-9, because your W-9 is how your business is registered with the federal government. So that's the data that they're going to be using to validate your business. And once you've submitted it, you should receive a response back in approximately a week.
Okay, got it. So when you submit your profile registration, you're looking to see carrier approved status. However, I know your profile can get rejected. So Jason, what are some of the reasons your profile could receive a rejection, and what can our customers do to get their accounts approved?
Yeah, the most common thing that we see rejections for have to do with mismatched info. Like Nicole said, they're checking against the W-9 or the business registration. So it's things like the business type doesn't match the registration, the name on the tax ID doesn't match the business name provided. In some cases, we've even seen where they're looking for a legal name to be on the website that you've provided somewhere. CTM is going to provide a specific reason code with all of these rejections. If you see that your registration has been rejected, unfortunately, all there is to do is update the info and resubmit.
All right, so try again, basically.
Right.
Okay, and I know Call Tracking Metrics has a bunch more information regarding these regulatory changes that we just don't have enough time to cover today. So Jason, where can businesses find resources and the latest information on this topic?
We have created this regulatory updates page on the site, and you've got it up on the slide here. This is where we're posting all the latest info, the best practices, and frequently asked questions for not only STIR/SHAKEN and A2P, but updates to TCPA compliance, the latest mobile carrier pass-through fees that are being assessed with SMS messaging on their specific networks. This is going to be a great place to go as we're updating all of these things. They're inevitably going to change further down the road as they evolve, and as new things like Canada's version of STIR/SHAKEN continues to evolve. This is where you'll find the latest and greatest information and how you can adjust your CTM account to be compliant.
All right, great. Thank you both so much for all that awesome information. I think it really gives some pretty straightforward action items for our audience today. Go in and make sure that you register. So now we'll dive into the Q&A. As a reminder, you can submit your questions using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom window. So we'll take a look and see what we've gotten so far. All right, looks like our first question has come in. Do businesses who are only taking inbound calls need to worry about STIR/SHAKEN?
I can take this one. So in most cases, you shouldn't have to. We initially didn't think that you would have to, but we've unfortunately seen some carriers where certain routing scenarios appear to cause issues for those calls that were terminating as a call forward to their network. Our support team may recommend registering just to rule that out in the event of an issue. But our best recommendation would be for every customer to just go ahead and get registered. Again, there's no cost associated with the STIR/SHAKEN registration, no other kind of obligation to CTM. And in doing so, it's just going to ensure the best deliverability that we can provide you for all your activities. Okay,
great. Kind of a basic question here, but it might not be so basic if you aren't super familiar with these terms. What does 10DLC stand for?
Yeah, I can help with that one. So 10DLC, it stands for 10-digit long code, but it's basically any 10-digit phone number that's not toll-free, that is text message enabled.
Okay, great. And we have another question from our Q&A here. Is everyone in our industry handling this the same way? Jason, I think you kind of touched on this a little bit during your part of the conversation, where they're really not.
Yeah, that's right. So what we've seen in looking around at the marketplace and the industry, what some carriers are doing is kind of taking a hands-off approach where with like STIR/SHAKEN, for example, when you register, you're going to get an attestation score. And if you can validate that your business is registered and your vendor provided the number to that specific business, then your score should be as high as possible. It should be an A. And what other carriers that say, hey, we're not going to give you any option for STIR/SHAKEN, what you're going to get with them is the highest your call will ever be is an attestation score of a B or lower. And that's going to have, depending on the carrier, a more likelihood that your call is going to be labeled as probable spam or likely spam, depending on the carriers we've all probably seen on our mobile devices today.
Okay, great. So yeah, worth it to take the extra step to get that A attestation score for sure. All right, let's see. Another question we have here. Will this make it so my calls are not being labeled with spam risk? I think, Jason, this might be another good one for you.
Yeah, I could take that one. So it's going to help, is what I would say. The spam risk label is being applied by the contact's phone company. So it's hard for us to say with 100% certainty that they don't have the specific numbers flagged in a database of their own for some reason and won't keep flagging them as spam even after this registration is approved. However, we can say for sure that with the approved registration in CTM, we will be able to pass a STIR/SHAKEN token to the recipient's provider, and every outbound call is going to have this token and should get the highest score possible as such.
Okay, great. All right, we have another question in here from Taylor. Whenever adding a new tracking number to CTM, will we manually have to add them to the Trust Center application, or will they automatically be added each time?
Yeah, I can help with that one. So within the call tracking metric account page, so when you go into the Trust Center, once you're approved, you can set that business profile as being your default profile. So what that will do is for that sub account, it will automatically apply any newly purchased tracking numbers under that profile registration. So there won't be any manual intervention required.
Awesome. All right. Still going through the questions here. Let's see. Whoop. I already registered for STIR/SHAKEN with another phone company. Do I still need to register my CTM account?
Yeah, I can help with that as well. So yes, short answer. You'll have to register through CTM for STIR/SHAKEN as well as A2P registration, because with both of these, so for STIR/SHAKEN, there's a token that gets attached to your phone calls. The only way for that phone call to be attached, or excuse me, the token to be attached to the phone call and when making phone calls from CTM is for that approval to be issued in CTM. And the same for, for A2P, those numbers have to be, or your account has to be approved to send those outbound text messages. So yes.
Awesome. And then another question here for those who might want to live life on the edge. What will happen if I don't register?
Oh boy, I can take this one. So, and I'll break it out in both. So with STIR/SHAKEN, if you don't register, calls to some carriers will go through just fine. Calls to other carriers may show your call as probable spam. And more we're seeing that carriers are not putting calls through at all if there's no STIR/SHAKEN registration. And I think that's going to be more and more prevalent as the weeks and months go on here. For A2P, it's the same kind of thing. Think low deliverability. You're going to have lots of undeliverable messages because you're not registered for this valid A2P route, and carriers are looking again at anybody sending messages from a software solution like CTM. So in addition to having those messages blocked, in some cases there could be higher SMS surcharge fees for not having any kind of campaign registered, and eventually they'll even block those messages from those numbers to hitting their network at all.
Okay, so we definitely want to make sure we're registering. All right, looks like we have a question from Chad here. Will CTM offer branded call display? Are there partners like Neustar that will be compatible?
So we have talked about doing the branded call display. That is something that will come later down the line once we get through kind of the initial setup processes and get everything worked out through the with Stir Shaken, but it's definitely something that we have talked about, and we'll continue to revisit.
Awesome. So something for the future for sure. All right. And a question from Christopher. As an agency, do I just need to register myself, or do I need to register every client?
So as an agency, you'll want to register every sub account individually. The reason being is that when you submit your application, you are registering that business to send out those, to be sending out those phone calls or text messages. If you were to register them all under your account, they would all be attached to your business profile. So you do want to register them individually.
Great. And a question from Steve here. Our company is already showing as approved in CTM, but we can still show up as potential spam. Is there anything else we can do to improve our results?
Yeah, definitely. If you're still seeing that your calls are showing up as spam once approved, I would say definitely reach out to our team. And we'll be able to reach out to our resources to see, why that may be.
Great. See, I'm checking for any other questions here. These are great questions. I know, as I'm keep saying, this is a hot topic. I know this is top of mind for everybody. This affects, business operations. So we're happy to answer questions, and we hope that you're finding this content really helpful. So I will kind of move on to our thank you slide here to share our resources. Thank you again for joining us. As a reminder, these are all the resources that we talked about during the presentation today. So make sure you check out our telecom regulatory updates page to have all of your A2P and Stir Shaken questions answered. We have a robust FAQ included on that page. So chances are, if you've asked it or you have a question, someone has asked something similar before, and we've already included it in there. So definitely check that page out. And I know we already pasted the link for that in the chat. As we've been reiterating, please make sure you register your business in the Trust Center as soon as you can. You can find that just by going to your CTM account and visiting the Numbers tab, and then Trust Center will be at the bottom of that. So definitely make sure you are registering your business as soon as possible.